at the layout or the page here. Um, when you first get to where your layouts, you have this blue line here that's your inside page margins. Now, that automatically does have grid lines there on the page. So if you're going to toggle those grid lines down in the bottom right corner, there's a little toggle here. You just kind of click it back on off that and have that. So the blue area is where you're going to have your safe area where you'll want to keep all of your text and images within. Moving on be outside of that, the red outer line here, this is our estimated trim line. And this is where your pages are estimated to be trimmed at. Now, when we say estimated, we say that because there could be up to 1/8 inch variance when it comes to the final trim. And factors that kind of play into that would be when those pages are getting trimmed. It could be, how that trimming machine is operating today, the operator, how sharp the blades are, how big the stack are, just little kind of variables like that. So that's why we call that an estimated trim line, but usually about there could be about up to an 1/8 inch variance when it comes to the final book. Moving on beyond that, on beyond that is the bleed area. So when you have shapes or images or backgrounds that are going out to the furthest edge of the page, you'll see the bleed is kind of represented by this lighter shaded area. And this is what's estimated to be trimmed off right here. So, but right on this line, that's where that 1/8 area. So you're hoping this gets trimmed off here and that gives a nice clean look to your pages. So just kind of wanted to keep um, get you acquainted with your lines here, your areas to stay within. Now, another thing, if you're building candid activity pages where you're just doing collage pages, where you're just tossing images on, sizing to your liking, and you're putting images out to the bleed there. Um, when you have certain images, you'll need to kind of check to see what kind of space is in those photos. Which kind of areas upon the, dead space, background space, um, kind of background or anything like that when you start putting certain images out to the edges. So just kind of playing with this photo here. If we were building a collage page and we were putting this either, out to the outer edge of the page, we'll see that this part of the edge, this is getting trimmed off. Now, this is kind of an ideal for this outer side just because the main focus of the image, these two students right here, they fall within our margins here. And nothing really important, nothing real important about, the focus of the photo is getting trimmed off here. This photo will also work well on the inside. A lot of empty space that will go into the binding. Now we can take this same photo and it'll work well being out to the very edge of the bleed down at the bottom because we don't have, again, the focus of the photo is right here within the margins and we don't have any, nothing here is at risk of being trimmed off, just this area. Now, where a photo like this would not work well is actually if we place it at the very top of the page. At the very top, here is where we start getting to where we could trim part of this student's the top of their head off, which in some cases, it may be okay on certain photos. That could be, but if you're not wanting to have stuff like that kind of trimmed off, some kind of areas to kind of think about. With this image being real cropped, real close to the edge, when we put it out to the bleed, it takes even more off. And also, if there is just a little bit of a variance, there could be just a leaving a little bit more. So here I can bring down a guideline from the ruler and just say if there was variance, let me just bring it just a smidge in so it could even take off just a little bit more there. So just keep that in mind if you're doing like full collage pages where you're just throwing images on. Um, Check them out, see what kind of space that you have, top, bottom, extra. Usually photos that have that extra space, those are usually the better ones to push out to the bleed and have them to the edges there. Um, all right. So the next thing, just getting acquainted with this area, what we're going to do is just a quick rundown of the menus in our tabs that we have here. So that way you'll know what kind of tools, what kind of functions that you have when you start bringing your images and building your activity pages. Um, I'm going to zoom in the page. I'm actually going to zoom in on the browser a little bit here. Um, so just off the top, you have your standard kind of file, edit, view, arrange menus at the top. Across more of this gray bar are some of the kind of more of the quick icons that you can do. You also have your page buttons, so previous and next, or you go to last. And at the very edge of this, you do have your zoom controls. Um, Under things like the file menu, you'll have your regular save. Regular save is also a quick icon that is over here. Um, you will have your save as template option, and we'll show more of that once we start changing some templates. Save as click and go is if you don't want a full page template, just want to like maybe 3 certain elements grouped together. That's a click and go. Practice pages, you can do practice page. It doesn't really land here in this area. It's just something if you didn't want to, if you were developing an idea, you could then build it as a practice page. Those practice page, then, so if you did want to make it a full-fledged deal, you could then bring that practice page onto one of your live pages. So that's kind of things you'll see under file. Under edit, you have your undo and redo. You also have those as quick icons up here. Your standard cut, copy, paste, and delete. If you're familiar with keyboard shortcuts, you can do, Control X for cut, Control C for copy, Control V for paste. If you're on a Mac device or Apple Mac, it'll be Command instead of Control. Down here under Edit, you're also going to come, you'll find Change Background. This is our Change Background menu, and we'll touch more on this a little bit later because it'll help you do some other things with your backgrounds. Change shape. If you want to change a shape of, so currently rectangle, change it to any other kind of shape that's here. That's what change shape will do. Find and replace are some spelling options that we have in our program. So if you need to do quick find and replace on certain things, we have that. We do have spell check in the program. Now it's not as robust as like Microsoft Word kind of a spell check. So it'll catch obvious misspellings in that, but one thing it may not pick up is grammar usage. So definitely still, it'll help with misspelled words, but when it comes to proofreading and that, still give it a good look there. Under view, this is where you can hide your rulers or page margins. This is something we don't suggest. We just suggest leaving those on all the time. Again, zoom in, zoom out, fit. Those options are here under view as well. They're also up here on the top toolbar all the way to the right there. And then we get to arrange. Now I'm going to zoom back down on the page a little bit. Now the arrange, this is where you can go to lock and unlock elements. Also, if we want to lock elements down, there is a little padlock on the top toolbar. That's here. And we have other options such as grouping items, aligning items, and basically arranging and layering is under arrange. So to kind of show some of that. So if you have ever pictures or shapes, you need to start aligning stuff, we go under range. So if we want to align rows, we're going to go align vertically, top, bottom, middle. If we're going to do columns, just do align horizontally, do left, center, or right. I'm going to undo all that because all those same actions that you can do under the arrange menu can also be done on this drop down that's right here. So definitely you can use those arrangement options. Those layering options are here as well. So if I wanted to, let's see. So under that arrangement, we have to, send stuff to the back, send it back, send backward. This will help. These options will help on your pages where you have collage images and you want to work with the overlapping and that. And the same going down, you'll just go and use those under the arrange drop downs from here. All right. So I just want to go and show you some of those basic tools that are across the top there. Now going down the tabs here, we'll start to do some page building here. Okay. So going down on the left side, the first tab you come to is your Pages tab. This is much like your page ladder that you have here in the program. So just a quick access. So if you want to, if you're had a few pages assigned to you, this is a quick way to jump around to those pages that you have. Under Designs, this is where you're going to find all of our pre-made templates that are here in the program. So if we go under Designs, and I'm going to go down two sections, or the section we're going to focus more on today is Page Surfer. So if I go under Page Surfer, um, got 6 categories that are here. Now, when looking for templates, candid activity templates or just image templates, some of the more simpler templates will be under candids. So I'm just going to start here first. Um, Now, some of these or most of these in this folder just have either here, I'm going to bring a set on. It's just a drag and drop to apply your template. I'll explain this message. This retain existing content message says here. Most of the time, if you're wanting to drop a template on and completely overwrite what's on the page, if it asks you if you want to retain anything, this is where you'll hit no. A lot of times where you'll want to hit retain is if you've already had like a background that's on the page. If you do retain existing content, it'll keep the background usually. Um, but there's all sorts of different ones that are in here. Combination of photo boxes. So when you see regular photo boxes here, they'll have a little mountain and sun, kind of a little landscape icon there. Just to kind of show a few different designs that are going around. So all sorts of different templates that you can start with here. So that's just a quick way to start. Um, Now, when it comes to, once you have a template on, a lot of these boxes start square or anything like that. Um, One thing you can do is, let's say that if you wanted to, let's say that you wanted to round the corners on all the boxes that are on this page, or even on this one too, since we have it selected. So if we wanted to, we could just select each box, and if we go under Format and Effects, actually, yes, round, we'll go under the little drop down, Format and Effects, there's Round Corner. So we can do each one of these manually here. There's a little slider bar. I'm gonna undo that. Now, let's say we want to do all of them at once. We could go under Edit and do a Select and choose All Images. And then let's just round the corners to 12 for all of them. That way we just kind of bring them out all at once. And let's see, let's say another thing that we can do. if you want to add small, simple borders to these photo boxes, we can select the box, and from the toolbar that pops up above the page, we'll come over to the stroke size drop down. We pick 1 point. Now, when you're looking at the stroke, or if you're adding simple stroke borders to your images, the higher up the point you go, the thicker the border will be. There. And I'll tell you what, let's say that we would like to take all these boxes, and instead of just having this solid kind of, let's say we want to have a border that matches this dark gray. So what we can do, we'll go back to edit, and we can do our select, we could do our images, and let's say I'm going to keep something a little smaller. We'll do 3, and let's go to the color drop down. Now, if you've already chosen or have started using certain colors on a page, any of the color palettes that pull down for the menus, whether it's for text or for this, there's a quick little, it'll be used on page colors, so you can actually get to those quicker. So I'm going to select that dark gray. It looks like 67% there. Set at all of those. All right, and let's say that now on each one of, like, if we were doing kind of a candid page for um, each kind of class and stuff, let's say we didn't need a group photo that was this big. Maybe we needed a few more boxes in here. Um, Now, any of our templates in the program, there's no one part of them that is set in stone. They're customizable. You can modify them more to what you need there. So let's say that we don't need that big of a box there. Um, Maybe you want some more, maybe you have like teacher message or something that you would like to put on those pages or anything like that. Um, so what I'm going to do here, let's say I don't need this as big. Now, if I wanted to add another photo box to this spot, um, two ways to go about that. So if we had not done any of this formatting already, we could have gone to the Art tab and gone to Image Frame. So if you need to add photo boxes, go under the Art tab and look under Photo or Image Frames, and then you'll have the different shapes. But I'm going to bring that on, and that one's going to come on just kind of square and that. So I'm going to take that off there. Um, and what we can do, usually if you've done some formatting in that, it's usually best to copy one of the boxes that you already have formatted. So I'm just going to do edit copy, edit paste, and I'll just bring that other box right there. That's like, okay. So now I want to fill this spot with some text here. Maybe it's a class message, maybe it's a class poem or anything. Just maybe we want some sort of text there. So we'll go to the text tab. I'm going to grab one of my styles, and a style in our program is just um, it's basically just a pre-formatted text box. So I'll bring body copy over. Um, then you can make that text box as large as you want. Now, when you bring a style over, like I said, it's just a pre-formatted text box, meaning it just starts in that size and style that when you bring it over. But once they're on the page, so like with this body copy, once it's on the page, you're then okay you can then change it to, I'm going to put it to a little bit larger text size or that. Maybe I don't really care for that font style. Maybe I want to go to one of the other, there we go, one of the other styles I have in my collection. So there I have a text box there ready for a message or anything. All right. So let's say that we've done some formatting. I have a good style here on a template that I'd like to use on the rest of my pages. So if you ever build a layout, you want to keep using it, it's best to save it as a template. So we're going to take our layout here. We're going to go up to File and do Save as Template. And then we'll get this dialog box to name our template. And so we can either choose the left side, the right side, or both, or you may want to save each side individually. Just because you never know, you might want to have another page somewhere where you just have extra candids, and maybe you just want this side of it. So in this example, I will save them as both. Um, so just call it, um, and I'm just going to give it today's date and hit save. Would you like to say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna save my changes there. So I'm just gonna move to the next page there. All right, so after you save one of your layouts as a template, um, where you'll find that, you'll go back to the Designs tab, go under the drop down, and you're gonna look for your template under Custom and then in My Templates. So under here, this is just where any of your templates that you saved will be. Then you're able to just drag and drop them over. So just wanted to show that you can definitely start with one of our templates and then modify that more to more your liking or what better fits your classrooms. Um, a lot of times, oh, well, not a lot of times, but yeah, definitely making up your own definitely helps, give it more customized look. Now, some other things, I just showed some templates that were under Page Surfer and Candids. Um, and those are some of the more basic ones that you have there. But definitely, as you get to looking to other categories here, like clubs and organizations, um, templates that are in these, they have a lot more going on for them. So definitely check them out. Um, It'll bring it on different styles like this. Maybe this is more of a kind of maybe a high school, or maybe it could be a staff or certain, maybe a standout for certain standout students that you have in here. Now, when you bring a template on, like I said, none of this is set the way it is. So if you want to select, there's a shape behind this text box. So if we can select it, if we want, we could then change that to maybe or change that more to the colors that we want. Maybe you could just offset a school colors there. But there's definitely a lot under here, so we definitely encourage you to check out what is here. If you're working with a committee or a class, maybe you might take some time, have the students go through our templates here and say, hey, what looks good, what works best, and then we can go and then you can go on from there. But there's definitely a lot of neat options that are under here. Um, and even if there's parts that maybe most of that template worked, maybe you liked this section that was up here, but you didn't really want any of the below. Um, take all that out. Um, but different things you can work there. But definitely, there's definitely a lot of stuff here to check out in that. So I'm going to bring one of those back over. Let's bring our template back over. We'll just kind of start filling it in here. So when you're ready to start bringing in, usually, once you get your templates that settled, you're good to, bring in your images. So a lot of times you're just going to find where you uploaded those under into your activity images. So I'm going to go to the images tab. And when you go to the images tab, it's still broken down into those two main sections, portrait and activity. So if you upload it under activity, you'll see all of your folders down under that section. Just select the folder that you're working with for that. Um, Usually what helps some schools is when you're setting up events, either um, name the folder. You can name the folder with what that event is. Some even take it a step further, and they'll name the event and they'll actually have the page on the folder. Um, just, but yeah, lots of different organizational styles there. So when you're ready, then it's a lot of applying those. Oop, I don't like that view. A lot of times bringing them over. Okay, so I dragged and dropped this image over, and I'll go ahead and show this because you might get this. So um, if you have used a photo in the book already, you will get this message. It's just letting you know you've used it somewhere. Um, a lot of times you may see this if you, some schools will see this if they put like a logo or a mascot kind of throughout the book. Shouldn't see this too often, but it is a good indicator to let you know you used something before. I am going to hit yes because I want that to go in. Um, Now I brought that image over. It did not highlight that box. It just dropped right on top. Um, if that happens, a lot of times that means that that photo wasn't large enough by that spot. But I think in this case, what happened was, okay, so there's a text box that was covering that. All right, let me bring it down to this one. So usually what you should see when you bring images come over, if the image is large enough for the box, you should get the box to highlight green like this, and that's going to let you know when you let go of that image, it's just going to fill up that space. Well, here's that message again. We'll hit yes. All right, so now it filled our box there. So when you're bringing images over, if they highlight green like so, green is good to go. I've used these quite a bit before. We'll just kind of fill these in. All right. Eventually I'll get to one here that, there we go. Okay. So now I got one here, and we're bringing it over. It's showing, it's highlighting red on all these. So when you bring it over, let you know if red's going to let you know that the image is not high enough resolution for that spot. But if we let go, we'll notice that the image still places on the page. Just the program puts it in its own photo box. Um, so if it goes red like that, what that may mean is it may be a combination. It either it doesn't meet the height or the width of that box. And so that's what I was saying in pixels that. So as we can see, I'll zoom in here a little bit. It didn't hit that box because it wasn't. So I'm at the top of the height, and the box is actually taller than the photo, so that's why it would not fit there. But the program still place it on here. You could still use it. You may take out that box that's behind there and just readjust this image to have the same formatting, or just find, if you have a better copy of that image, find and upload that and use the better copy. All right. So once you start getting images in, um, just some other things that are here. Maybe you might want to, then tie everything off with a background. So as you're looking for backgrounds or things like that, we'll go to back to art, and a couple different ways that we can do backgrounds here in the program. Um, I'm going to clear these photos off here real quick just to show that. I grabbed a little too high on that. Okay, so the backgrounds. So starting off, you come under art, you go to background. A lot of these, there are a lot of them here that are in the program. These just kind of generic backgrounds that are here. They don't really tie into any one of our themes, but there are a lot of great styles under here that you can incorporate into your pages. And some of this may sometimes fall into the look that you're looking for. So definitely give this a look. There's some neat choices in here. If you see something that you like, all you have to do to apply a background is just drag and drop it over to the page. Um, so just drag and drop. Now, you'll usually want to drop them into an open space there. What will happen is if you bring a background over a photo box, you see it does highlight green, and it will go ahead and place that in the photo box instead of your background there. Um, let's clear these off. Um, Now, also within the generic background folder, if you get to the end of your book and you're looking to add in an autograph page or a signature page or things like that, those signature pages in that will be back here in the background. So usually there's a few that start off the top of the folder here, different styles. There are some more. If I go down to the bottom of the list, not that far to the bottom of the list. Here we go. There's some more that are later down here. So I just wanted to some other neat little signature pages that you could toss on the end there that look pretty neat that you could use. Um, Now, if you weren't wanting to, let's say that you weren't wanting to, ooh, tell you what, let me find something with a particular design here. Here we go. A couple different things I'll show on the next little part here for your backgrounds. Um, so when you're dealing with backgrounds, let's say that you bring it on, let's say a few different things you want to do. Let's say you want to mirror this. That way, you kind of have a nice symmetrical look to it. If you're ever needing to adjust things with your background, either flip it, rotate it, or let's say that you didn't want to use maybe you just want a solid background. Um, this is where you're going to go to up to the edit menu and you're going to bring up the change background menu. So first thing we'll do just on this one, if we want to mirror this here, we're going to bring up our change background menu, and you can actually leave this menu up while you're working on everything. It's just kind of floating and it'll stay there. So we go flip rotate and give that kind of a nice symmetrical kind of look there. Looks like that one. This one's actually a two set there. But let's say that maybe we wanted to flip these there. Um, Gonna select the left page because you have to do one page at a time. So I'm gonna select left page and I'll flip that way. Go to right page, flip that other way. So you can kind of do some flips and rotates like that. Some other things you can do on, I'm gonna bring our colorful city back up here. Um, so if you're ever working on pages and let's say that you need to tint a background, maybe a background is too colorful, maybe it's too bold, um, on the change background menu, you'll have tint slider here. You can kind of tint that. So that way, um, if there's type on a page in that, it will be easier to see on a tinted background like this than it would be dark, kind of colorful like this. So this may be good for a page that has lots of images on it, maybe not so great for a page that has lots of type on it. So um, now another thing, like I said, if you just wanted to do a solid color background, on this menu, just go under background color. You'll bring up the color palette and we can change that to any one of the colors that are there. You can also, kind of tint these as well, kind of mute them a little bit. I think there's also other colors in there to do that with too, but still an option. Yeah, let's stay here. Keep that up. Um, Now, that was just like the generic backgrounds that were under the art tab. Now, if you're looking for backgrounds that go with one of our one of our covers, if you're looking to do kind of the theme art in that, um, those, if we go under the art tab, let's scroll all the way back up here. Um, you'll go to clip art for those. So we're going to go to clip art. Now, from the drop down menu, I'm going to show this. I'm going to collapse everything up here. So if you go under the clip art menu from the drop down, you're going to open up by cover and any of the folders that are under there. These are named exactly as our covers are named. So if you did, the cover All Things Are Possible or any one of those here, it'll just match up with that. Cheery crayons here. And again, these backgrounds, if you drag and drop them over, they'll apply just like that. Again, you can use the background menu to kind of flip and rotate these. Left page. So still needs some stuff like that. Now, along with the theme art, so the templates in our program lend themselves to any theme that's in here. So we don't have any layouts that are specifically tied to a theme. It's just the layouts work with any theme that's in here. Because when we talk about when we're tying a theme together or you're doing your theme, um, toss on any template. You can change the colors or that. But when you go to tying it together, you've got those backgrounds that match the cover going through. You'll also find in these other little pieces of clip art. Here, so got little clown or little crayon clip art. You can grab those and rotate them. So these could also be used as headings. So if we rotated this one, move that little guy out of the way there. Let's bring that up there. Tell you what, I'm gonna move him right to the corner. I'll bring all the way to there. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna bring that there, and all right. So just do this headline real quick here, just using this piece of clip art. So I'm gonna bring that on, and let's say I do want to change the text color. Um, so now this toolbar up above the page changes its options depending on what element you have selected. Um, so with text selected, we have our text editing options. And now when we click the color drop down, uh, it's split into four main things that you can change here. By default, it's going to go to the text fill. That means just the regular text color. So I'm going to change that to white there. The other options here, text stroke, it puts a small little border around just the lettering. And then shape fill and shape stroke deal with the text box itself. It'll give the fill a color there. And then I'm going to just kind of align this to center. So you can definitely use the clip art for headings that are there. We'll go back to clip art, but definitely check out the different little pieces. The different little pieces of clip art are great for tie-ins and things like that. Now, one thing I should have probably been doing along the way, and I'll go ahead and save now. Um, when you're working on your pages, definitely make sure to save often. Um, as you're working and you're saving, as long as you're saving often, the program keeps track of each and every saved change that you have. Um, and if you're logged in as an advisor or in with an advisor role, then the last tab that you should have down at the bottom here is the history tab. And yeah, it looks like I only had, oh, I did have a previous time. I can go back into history quite further from another webinar. But um, save your changes often. Um, it's kind of neat that when you're working on here, let's say if you get a base template on, you start adding photos, or maybe you have a save point before you started formatting a template. If you're saving often, one thing that you can always do is if things kind of got off track or you want to take something in a different direction at a certain point, you can go back to the history tab. And let's see if I have it on here. Um, okay, I'll just use our previous spread here. So if you want to go back in the time, so on just using this spread, for example, I'm going to go back to before we started making our template. I can just revert it back. I can find that page. Sorry about that. Um, I can find that page in my history and just drag and drop it over, and it'll apply it back to that point in time. Um, so I'll bring that on, but definitely I'm going to save. So even if I start adding photos here, and maybe like, oh, those are the wrong photos. Maybe those photos didn't need to go into that template or that layout. I could come back here to history, drop that change on, and then I'm back to um, a good save point. Um, that is kind of what we had going on as far as working in the designer and that for today, going through just working on the basic templates, modifying them to what you need there. Um, what we will do, or what I do have some time for, is once we kind of do the ending kind of outro there, I can stay on for a little while for some Q&A. If anyone still has any questions or about more about what we covered for today. Um, but definitely thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully these demonstrations of the functions related to the creation of activity pages may help when it comes time to build your yearbook. Using the templates already in the program and building your own templates should save you some time and give your book continuity. So feel free to join us in a couple of weeks where we'll take you through the final steps of the yearbook building process. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And for those that still would like have some questions, stick around and I'll be on here for a little bit.